1973, Takahiro Miyashita was born in Tokyo, Japan. He grew up with a deep fascination for clothing, music, and subculture. He taught himself garment construction by making his own custom pieces for his wardrobe at a young age. As a teenager, he spent time in Harajuku and Shibuya, immersing in Japan's fashion scene and thrifting foreign pieces. At 16, he spent time in the US, where he became fascinated with military surplus, rock culture, and vintage style. This experience deeply shaped his aesthetic. In his early 20s, Miyashita began working for Nepenthez, a prominent Japanese company known for blending American culture styles and Japanese craft. It was at Nepenthez that he honed in technical skills and learned industry operations, crediting Kizo Shimizu for shaping his career. In 1996, Kooks Co. Limited was founded by Nobuhiko Kitamura, creator of fashion brand Hysteric Glamour. Miyashita launched No. 9 under the company Kooks Co. the same year, meaning Kooks Co. acted as a corporate umbrella for the brand. This would lead to issues for No. 9 and the future of the brand. The brand's name is a direct reference from the Beatles' track Revolution 9, a song with repeated iterations of the phrase No. 9. This musical reference presaged the brand's long love affair with rock culture. No. 9's earliest pieces resembled personal wardrobe artifacts rather than commercial fashion styles, featuring distressed garments that felt already lived in, drawing from American grunge, punk and thrift store clothing, lacking branding, refined through Japanese craftsmanship. No. 9 began to take its recognizable shape around 1997, with collections like Enfant Terrible. The brand's earliest pieces were defined by a raw, worn-in aesthetic: thin graphic t-shirts, distressed denim, soft jackets, and knitwear that felt personal rather than produced. Inspired by American grunge, punk music, and thrifted clothing, Takahiro designed garments that already appeared lived in, favoring subtle distressing, faded fabrics, and imperfect construction over polish or branding. These early releases felt closer to fragments of a personal wardrobe than a traditional fashion collection, laying the foundation for No. 9's cult identity. In 1997, No. 9 also opened its first boutique in Tokyo's Omotesando district. Minimal and gallery-like, the space reflected Takahiro's anti-commercial philosophy, prioritizing atmosphere and emotion over luxury presentation, stocking limited runs of early graphic tees, distressed denim, and layered garments. The boutique became a quiet gathering point for Tokyo's underground fashion community and marked the label's transition from experimental project to cult brand. 1998 was a pivotal year for No. 9. It marked the brand's first period of consistent identity, early recognition, and expansion beyond experimental 1996 to 97 pieces. Takahiro was fully in control, refining the punk grunge subculture-inspired aesthetic. Clothing retained that lived-in, worn feel, but construction quality improved. Takahiro began experimenting with layering and asymmetry in a way that became signature. Graphic t-shirts continued, building on Enfant Terrible's success. Early illustrative graphics appeared: knights, skulls, subtle text. Long-sleeve layering became more deliberate, often pre-distressed or frayed at the cuffs and hems. They also began making military-inspired jackets and their first-ever denim jeans. 1998 marked the first-ever real drop cycles. Though still not traditional seasonal collections, graphics and themes were more tightly tied to music references and subculture symbolism. Unlike 96 and 97, these pieces were more documented. Early collectors began identifying No. 9 1998 tags as distinct from the first experimental run. Stores remained small and in Tokyo, but the brand's recognition grew. Early adopters were mostly underground fashion kids and Tokyo subculture enthusiasts. Takahiro's clothing began to stand out from other Japanese streetwear because of its intentional distressing, subtle graphics, and layering philosophy. Number 9 was no longer just experimental clothing. The brand's punk grunge music-driven identity was solidified. This is where collector interest begins. Pieces from '98 are now highly sought after by vintage enthusiasts. This is when the brand's signature aesthetic truly emerged. 2000 was the year Number 9 prepared for international recognition. Graphics and silhouettes became more confident, punk and rock influences remained dominant. Textures and layering were more experimental, some prints referenced Japanese subculture. Around this time, Number 9 started showing in Tokyo Fashion Week circuits. 2000 marked the era where Number 9 became a recognized cult label, not just a Tokyo underground project. Collectors today often consider 1999 to 2000 pieces the first classic Number 9. By 2003, Number 9 began showing at Tokyo Fashion Week, gaining attention from buyers and press. Kooks Inc. supported small-scale runway presentation and lookbooks. Graphics became more refined and recurring skull stripes and text motifs appeared across multiple pieces. Pieces became more luxury with higher quality denims, distressed leather, cotton knits, and intentional imperfections. Takahiro emphasized multi-layered silhouettes, often combining t-shirts, shirts, and jackets in a single outfit. Early 2000 items are highly prized today for authentic Takahiro design language, early integration of music inspiration with tailoring. Early international buyers included boutiques in New York, Paris, London, though these releases were extremely limited. In 2005, Number 9 debuted at Paris Fashion Week, cementing its status as Japan's cult streetwear meets high fashion label. Runway presentations were highly stylized, music driven with bands or DJ sets, layered distressed aesthetics, and slightly theatrical. Collections had clear seasonal narratives, often tied to music or literature. The first cohesive color palettes appeared. Muted tones, black, gray, red, with occasional accents. Graphics often reference bands, albums, or underground culture. At this point, they had international press appearing on Vogue Japan, ID, and Numero. Early 2000 collectors began identifying pre-2005 versus post-2005 pieces by tag and graphic style. Many collectors and fashion historians consider 2007 the creative peak of Number 9. The brand already built a cult following through the early 2000s, but around this time Takahiro reached the most refined version of his vision. Emotionally heavy, music-inspired, and technically impressive. At the same time, the year also hinted that the brand was approaching its final chapter. The brand had fully found its identity. By 2007, Takahiro had spent almost a decade refining what made Number 9 unique. Core influences that defined this era: Kurt Cobain, Nirvana, American vintage and Western culture, punk and grunge music, DIY construction and deconstruction, emotional storytelling through clothing. Earlier collections experimented with these ideas, but by 2006 and 2007 they were perfectly balanced. You saw layered silhouettes, distressed knitwear, skinny rock-style pants, oversized flannel and hoodies, detailed accessory and belts. The aesthetic later became extremely influential in archive fashion and modern streetwear. 2007 pieces are often considered some of the best constructed garments Takahiro ever made. By this point, Number 9 had become one of the most respected Japanese designer brands globally. It was frequently discussed alongside Undercover, Raf Simons, and Bape. But unlike those brands, Number 9 was less commercial and more artistic. The fanbase consisted mainly of fashion obsessives, musicians, stylists, and collectors. This helped build the brand's legendary status. Around this time, Takahiro was personally exhausted from running the brand. He handled creative direction, design concepts, and collection storytelling. The brand was deeply tied to his personal emotions and music taste, which made the creative pressure intense. Also, financial pressures. Despite its popularity, the brand wasn't necessarily making huge profits. Reasons like the complex garments were expensive to produce, the audience was niche, and small production scale. So the brand was artistically successful but financially difficult. At the same time, the industry was changing. By the late 2000s, fashion was moving toward faster trends, larger global expansion, more commercial streetwear. Number 9's slow, emotional, handcrafted approach didn't align well with that shift. 2008, withdrawal, restraint, and internal tension. By 2008, Number 9 had already peaked creatively and culturally. Instead of escalating theatrics, Takahiro pulled inward. The collections became more minimal, more somber, and more controlled. This was not a decline, it was an intentional restraint. Slim, elongated tailoring, less aggressive layering, cleaner lines, fewer raw edges. The color palette was predominantly black and charcoal gray, occasionally muted neutrals, very little contrast. Materials were fine wool suiting, cashmere blends, soft leathers, and high-quality cottons. Graphics were minimal to non-existent. When present, they are subtle and almost hidden. This was anti-spectacle fashion, clothing meant to exist quietly. Behind doors, there was business pressure. By 2008, Paris shows were extremely expensive, production standards were high, global recession pressure began mounting. Cooks Inc. was supporting a brand that prioritized art over scalability. Takahiro was creatively exhausted, emotionally drained, and disillusioned with the fashion cycle. Rather than compromise, he reduced output. 2009, the farewell year. The autumn-winter 2009 collection was titled A Closed Feeling, not metaphorically but literally. This was Takahiro's last runway show, a deliberate goodbye, an emotional full stop. The design language was sharp, narrow silhouettes, long coats, fitted suits, and precise construction. The mood was quiet, isolated, reflective. The runway atmosphere had minimal staging, somber music, no dramatics. Unlike earlier Paris shows, this one did not try to impress. It felt like a private statement shown in public. Shortly after the show, Takahiro announced he was leaving Number 9. The brand would cease under his direction. He expressed the desire to escape fashion cycles, commercial pressures, and expectations tied to his brand name. He did not take the trademark. Cooks Inc. retained ownership. Number 9 as a name would continue, but without him. Earlier Number 9 was emotional, loud, music-driven, youthful. 2008 to 2009 Number 9 was adult, quiet, controlled, final. This is why many collectors describe late-era pieces as beautiful but heavy. They carry the weight of an ending. The reception at the time, critics respected the work but sensed closure. Fans felt something was ending before it was announced. The energy had shifted from expression to reflection. 2008 and 9 pieces are less graphics, less immediately recognizable, and more subtle. But they are historically critical, emotionally powerful, and the bridge to Takahiro's next chapter. Immediately after leaving Number 9, Takahiro founded The Soloist. The Soloist would reject commercial expectations, focus on personal narrative, and expand on introspection first seen in 2008 and 2009. With Takahiro gone, this left Number 9 in a weird situation. A fashion brand with immense cultural legacy but no creative soul attached. In-house design teams took over, heavy reliance on archived silhouettes, familiar motifs, and safer wearable garments. Designs lack conceptual depth, less narrative, more straightforward streetwear plus casual tailoring. To longtime fans, it felt like Number 9 was cosplaying itself. To new customers, it was a cool Japanese brand with history. Kooks Inc. pivoted the brand to primarily focus on Japan, reduce runway ambitions, and focus on retail, consistent seasonal releases, and accessible price points. Brand positioning was less Paris fashion house and more heritage streetwear label. This era kept number 9 alive, profitable, and relevant locally. And soon after, archive fashion would explode. Younger generations fell in love with the brand. Number 9 leaned into reissues, archive-inspired graphics, and familiar references. This worked commercially because most buyers never experienced the original era. Collaborations became central. Without a single creative voice, collaborations injected credibility, borrowed cultural relevance, and introduced the name to new audiences. This leads to work like the number 9 Supreme collab in 2025. Takahiro obviously had zero involvement and was actually critical of this collab. What number 9 is now. As of 2026, number 9 exists as a heritage IP brand, trademark driven, archive based, collaboration friendly. It is not a designer led label, not experimental, and not pushing toward fashion. What it is a culturally respected name, a source of archive symbolism, a bridge between 2000s Japanese fashion and modern streetwear consumers. Hardcore fans separate the eras completely. Younger consumers don't know and judge the clothes on face value. Number 9 after 2010 is a museum that sells gift shop items. The archives are legendary. The new pieces are respectful reproductions, not new masterpieces. In July 2025, Takahiro announced he was leaving The Soloist, marking the end of the brand as he defined it. His autumn-winter 2025-26 collection, titled The Black and White Realism, was confirmed as his final work for the label. Takahiro described the brand's journey as musical, each piece a musical note, and said that after nearly 15 years, the symphony has come to an end. He hinted strongly that he wasn't retiring from fashion, but preparing for a new chapter. Rock and roll never dies, just a different stage. Just weeks after departing The Soloist, Takahiro announced he was officially returning to number 9, the brand he founded and left 16 years earlier. This was announced through Instagram on a brand new account with the caption, "Back, I missed you." This signals a creative comeback under his own terms tied to the number 9 name, and marks one of the most talked about developments in Japanese fashion history in 2025-6. This means he's returning as creative director for number 9 again, not a simple nostalgia project. He's suggesting a new design work, not just reissues. The revival is anticipated to begin with the Spring-Summer 2026 collection. Nothing is 100% confirmed yet, but this is widely seen as his next major chapter. Takahiro's career arc from number 9 to The Soloist and back to number 9 forms one of the most compelling narratives in contemporary fashion. It's not just a career, but a personal artistic journey. A return to roots after 25 plus years. He's expected to shape what Japanese fashion does next. Thank you for watching today's video. If you have any other brands you would like me to cover, let me know. Please like and subscribe. Peace.